The news reports began to trickle in like the first drops of rain before a storm. Whispers of a brewing hurricane in the Atlantic. Hurricane Milton, they called it. At first, it was merely a tropical depression, a minor blip on meteorological radars. But as days passed, the storm swelled, feeding off the warm waters of the Gulf. In the heart of the storm-chasing community, excitement buzzed like static electricity. Among them was a seasoned crew led by Dr. Eliza Trent, a meteorologist renowned for her fearlessness and dedication to understanding hurricanes. With her was Noah, the ever-enthusiastic pilot, and Mia, the tech-savvy engineer responsible for keeping their state-of-the-art aircraft operational in the face of nature's fury. As the storm approached, the team gathered in their makeshift headquarters, an aging warehouse repurposed as a command center. The walls were plastered with maps and tracking charts, a chaotic tapestry of lines and predictions. A giant screen flickered with satellite images, showcasing Milton's spiraling winds and ominous clouds. "Look at that eye," Eliza said, her voice a mixture of awe and trepidation. The image showed a perfectly formed eye, a phenomenon both beautiful and terrifying. "It's becoming a Category 4. If it holds this path, we need to be airborne." Noah nodded, adjusting his flight jacket. "Let's do this. I can't remember the last time we had a storm this intense." Mia scrolled through data on her laptop, her brow furrowed. "Just be careful. This isn't like anything we've seen since Katrina. The models are showing it could strengthen even more once it makes landfall." The room fell silent as the weight of those words settled in. Katrina was a ghost that loomed large in the memories of storm chasers and residents alike, a devastating force that had reshaped the Gulf Coast. Milton had the potential to evoke similar horrors. "All right, team," Eliza said, breaking the tension. "We'll leave at dawn. I want us in the air before the storm reaches the coast." The next morning, the sky was a menacing slate gray, thick with moisture. As the crew boarded their modified Cessna, they felt a mix of adrenaline and dread. The roar of the engines masked their rising anxieties, but once they were airborne, the sheer scale of Milton began to reveal itself. The aircraft climbed higher, breaking through the cloud cover to unveil a surreal landscape below. Fluffy white clouds stood in stark contrast to the swirling darkness of the storm. As they approached the edge of Milton's wrath, Eliza activated the radar, watching as the storm's intensity pulsed on the screen. "Over there," Noah said, pointing toward a massive wall of clouds, dark and foreboding. "That's where we're headed." As they neared the storm's core, the turbulence hit like a punch to the gut. The aircraft rattled violently, forcing everyone to grip their seats. Eliza focused on the radar, her heart racing with both fear and exhilaration. "We're in for a bumpy ride, folks. Strap in." Lightning flickered in the distance, illuminating the chaotic scene below. The Eye of Milton was monstrous, a swirling vortex that seemed to draw everything toward it, a maelstrom of destruction waiting to unleash its fury. Suddenly, the radio crackled to life, static and urgency merging into a single, piercing voice. "Attention, all units. Hurricane Milton has intensified. Winds are exceeding 150 miles per hour. Evacuations are in place along the coast. I repeat, evacuations are in place." Eliza's stomach sank. "We need to get data before it makes landfall. This is our chance to study the storm's behavior." Noah fought the controls as the winds howled around them. "I'm not sure how long we can stay up here. The storm is shifting fast." As they descended into the storm, rain began to pelt the windshield, hammering like an angry drummer. Visibility dropped to almost zero. Eliza peered into the darkness, her heart pounding in her chest. "We're almost through the outer bands. Stay focused." The storm's power was palpable, a living entity that threatened to swallow them whole. Thunder rumbled like an ancient beast, awakening from slumber, shaking the very bones of the aircraft. But then, like an explosion, they broke through into the eye. The sudden calm was surreal. An eerie stillness enveloped them. Below, the ocean churned, but overhead, the sky opened up. A vivid blue contrasted against the chaos surrounding them. "Unbelievable," Mia breathed, capturing the moment with her camera. Before they could savor the beauty, the storm's outer bands lashed at them again, throwing the plane into a chaotic spin. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and Eliza's heart raced as she fought to stabilize the readings. "Hold on," Noah shouted, wrestling with the controls. The aircraft pitched violently as the storm's fury clawed at them. Rain smashed against the metal skin, a relentless barrage that seemed intent on stripping the plane of its defenses. Eliza clung to her monitor, eyes darting between readings and the turbulent storm outside. "Data acquisition is failing," Mia yelled, panic creeping into her voice. "We need to stabilize the system." Eliza forced herself to think through the chaos. "Reboot the sensors. We can't lose this information." As Mia scrambled to reset the systems, Noah fought to keep the plane steady. "I can't hold her much longer. We're getting sucked in." The storm raged around them, and as they were pulled deeper, the atmosphere inside the cabin turned electric. A chill ran down Eliza's spine as she felt a shift, an almost sentient awareness within the storm, as if it were aware of their presence. "Get ready," Noah shouted, preparing for the worst. "We're going to lose altitude." The plane dropped suddenly, and the ground below twisted into a whirlpool of water and debris. Trees bent like reeds, roofs were torn away, and the scene morphed into a nightmare of swirling chaos. Then they hit the edge of the eye wall, a cataclysmic clash of forces. The impact felt like slamming into a brick wall. The aircraft was thrown into a violent roll, the sound of metal screeching against wind and water filling the cabin. "Mayday, Mayday," Noah shouted into the radio, but static drowned out his voice. Eliza struggled to regain her composure, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Hold on, we're not done yet." In that moment, the plane's systems flickered back to life, and Mia reported, "I've got the sensors back. We're capturing data." The tension in the cabin surged as the storm howled around them, winds roaring like a wild animal, ready to consume them. "Keep it steady, Noah," Eliza commanded, gripping her seat tightly. But the turbulence only worsened. Each dip sent a jolt through their bodies, and Eliza could hear the fear in Mia's breathing. The world outside was a torrent of gray, a swirling vortex that threatened to engulf them at any moment. Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the chaos. In that split second, Eliza saw it, a massive debris cloud spiraling toward them. It was a monstrous wave of destruction, a cascade of wood, metal, and ruin. "Look out," she screamed. Noah reacted instinctively, pulling up as hard as he could, but the force of the storm was too great. The plane shook violently, and the debris cloud collided with them, sending them spiraling into the depths of Milton's rage. The impact sent shockwaves through the aircraft. Alarms blared, and Eliza felt a surge of panic. They were caught in a whirlwind of debris, the plane spinning out of control. Pull up," she yelled, but Noah was wrestling with the controls, trying to regain their bearings. The cabin was a cacophony of noise, wind howling, alarms blaring, and Mia gasping in terror. Eliza struggled to focus, forcing herself to read the instruments. They were losing altitude fast. "Stabilize it, Noah," she shouted, her heart racing. "I'm trying," he yelled back, sweat streaming down his face. "We're going down." Eliza braced herself, the dread pooling in her stomach. "We can't go down. We need to gather more data." With fierce determination, she gripped the edge of her seat, willing the plane to hold together. "Mia, can you get the backup systems online?" "Working on it," Mia replied, fingers flying over the keyboard, her expression a mix of fear and determination. The storm raged outside, an otherworldly howl that echoed in their ears. Eliza's eyes darted to the radar, where data poured in like a relentless tide. Wind speeds were peaking, and they were caught in the eye wall, the most dangerous part of the storm. "Hold on," Noah shouted as the plane dipped dangerously low, skimming the tops of the turbulent waters below. "Focus, everyone," Eliza shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to work together." The plane was a living thing, straining against the storm. Eliza could feel its tension, its struggle to stay airborne. Each lurch made her stomach churn, but she refused to succumb to fear. This was what they were here for, to understand the storm, to document its ferocity. "Data coming in," Mia shouted, excitement and terror intertwining in her voice. "Wind speed at 180 miles per hour. This is insane." "More than insane," Eliza muttered, glancing at the radar. "This is history." But before they could process the magnitude of their situation, another wave of turbulence rocked the plane. They were hurled sideways, and Eliza felt herself being pulled away from her seat. "No," she screamed, gripping the armrests tightly. "Hold on." In a frantic dance of machinery and willpower, Noah managed to pull the plane back, but they were losing altitude fast. The landscape below was a jumbled chaos of ocean and swirling clouds, and Eliza's mind raced. "Can we get to the eye?" she asked, desperation creeping into her voice. Noah shook his head, sweat glistening on his forehead. "It's too turbulent. We'll never make it." But Eliza couldn't accept defeat. "We have to try. We need that data." As they spiraled through the chaos, lightning flashed again, illuminating the roiling clouds. In that brief moment, Eliza saw it, a glimpse of the eye, a tranquil space amidst the storm's chaos, but it was still a distance away, and they were running out of time. "Go left. We can cut through," Eliza yelled, adrenaline fueling her conviction. With a fierce resolve, Noah nodded and turned the yoke hard to the left. The plane responded, banking sharply, but the storm retaliated, winds howling like banshees around them. "Hold on," Noah shouted again as the plane bucked violently, fighting against the storm's monstrous grip. Eliza's heart raced as they pushed forward, the eye looming larger in their vision. "We're almost there." Just then, the plane shuddered, a deafening crack resonating throughout the cabin. Eliza's heart dropped as she heard the sickening sound of metal tearing. "We're losing a wing," Mia screamed, her voice laced with panic. "Noah," Eliza shouted, but her words were drowned out by the cacophony of the storm. "Hang on," he shouted back, fighting to keep the aircraft steady. But the struggle was palpable, the plane protesting against the storm's relentless fury. Eliza's grip tightened, every instinct screaming at her to brace for impact. As they barreled toward the eye, the aircraft's systems began to fail, lights flickering ominously. The world outside was a blur of darkness and light, a swirling mass that threatened to engulf them. Then, in a moment that felt like an eternity, they broke through. Suddenly, they were enveloped in calm, a surreal contrast to the chaos that had consumed them just moments before. The eye of Hurricane Milton loomed large around them, a vast, eerie stillness that was almost beautiful. "Unbelievable," Eliza breathed, staring out at the surreal scene. Below, the ocean churned, a violent reminder of the storm's power. But within the eye, the air was unnaturally still, illuminated by an eerie light that cast shadows against the storm clouds. "Can we stabilize?" Noah asked, eyes darting between the gauges. Mia typed furiously, trying to regain control of the systems. "I'm trying, but we've lost too much, the wing's too damaged." Eliza's heart sank, but she forced herself to think clearly. "We need to gather whatever data we can. This is our only shot." Noah nodded, adrenaline surging through him. "I'll try to keep us steady while you work." With a deep breath, Eliza focused on the instruments, her mind racing as she pieced together the data streaming in. The eye was a phenomenon they had studied in theory, but experiencing it firsthand was something entirely different. "Mia, how's the data acquisition?" Eliza asked, her fingers flying over her own laptop. "I've got some readings, but we're losing stability. We need to get out of here soon," Mia replied, her voice tense. Eliza felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "We can't leave yet. We need more data on wind speeds and pressure fluctuations." As she continued her work, the calm inside the eye felt increasingly eerie. The stillness was punctuated only by the distant roar of the storm beyond, a reminder of the chaos just outside their fragile sanctuary. "Something feels off," Mia muttered, glancing out the window. "I can't shake the feeling that we're not alone." Eliza shot her a look. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," Mia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's like the storm is aware of us." Before Eliza could respond, Noah's voice broke in, urgency lacing his tone. "We need to leave now. The outer bands are shifting again." Eliza's heart raced as she glanced at the radar. The data was flowing, but the storm was still a beast, and they were sitting ducks in its eye. "All right, let's get what we can and prepare for a rapid ascent." But just as they began to gather their equipment, a strange noise erupted from the cockpit. The instruments began to flicker wildly, lights blinking erratically. "What the hell?" Noah exclaimed, his fingers flying over the controls. Eliza felt a cold dread creep over her. "It's like something is interfering with the systems." "Can we get them back online?" Mia shouted, panic creeping into her voice. "I'm trying," Noah yelled, frustration etched across his face. Outside, the calm began to fracture. The winds picked up, howling like a banshee, and Eliza could feel the storm's anger building. "We need to go, now." Suddenly, the plane lurched violently, throwing them all against their seatbelts. Alarms blared and the cabin lights flickered ominously. "Noah," Eliza shouted, but the roar of the storm drowned her out. "Hold on," he yelled, desperately trying to stabilize the aircraft. With a surge of effort, he pulled the yoke hard to the left, but the plane was still spiraling, the power of the storm too great. Eliza's heart raced as she glanced out the window, watching the swirling clouds morph into something monstrous. Then, without warning, a flash of light lit up the cockpit, an otherworldly illumination that momentarily blinded them. As the light faded, they found themselves face to face with a colossal wall of dark clouds, swirling ominously. The calm had shattered, replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread. "We need to get out of here," Mia screamed, her voice tinged with fear. But it was too late. The storm had shifted, and they were caught in its grasp once more. As the storm surged around them, the aircraft was engulfed in chaos. Winds howled like 1,000 tormented souls, and rain lashed against the hull with bone-rattling intensity. Noah gripped the controls with white-knuckled intensity, sweat pouring down his brow. "I can't hold her much longer. The wind shear is too strong." "Keep fighting," Eliza shouted, her heart racing as she grabbed the equipment, desperately trying to gather whatever data she could. "Focus on your readings. We need every ounce of data we can get," Noah urged, eyes locked on the instruments. Lightning crackled outside, illuminating the swirling maelstrom. Eliza's breath caught in her throat as she caught a glimpse of something dark and massive in the clouds, a shadow shifting through the storm like a predator. "Mia, did you see that?" Eliza gasped, pointing toward the window. "What?" Mia turned, her eyes wide with fear. But before Eliza could respond, the plane pitched violently, sending them tumbling against their seatbelts. "No," Noah shouted, struggling to regain control. "We're going down." Eliza gripped her monitor, heart pounding. "Keep it steady, we need to push through." But the storm was unforgiving. With a thunderous roar, the aircraft was thrown sideways, and the sound of tearing metal echoed through the cabin. Alarms blared and the lights flickered ominously. "We're losing altitude," Mia screamed, panic flooding her voice. "Noah," Eliza shouted, feeling the weight of the storm pressing down on them. "We can't give up now." But Noah's expression was grim. "I don't know how much longer we can stay up." With a surge of determination, Eliza forced herself to focus on the instruments, watching the data pour in like a lifeline. They were capturing vital information: wind speeds, pressure fluctuations, the very heart of the storm. But as she worked, a sudden, chilling realization washed over her. The storm wasn't just a natural disaster, it felt alive, almost sentient, a monstrous force that thrived on chaos. "Mia," she said, voice trembling, "what if the storm is aware of us? What if it's reacting to our presence?" Mia's eyes widened in terror. "You can't be serious, that's impossible." But Eliza couldn't shake the feeling. "No, there's something wrong here. The storm, it's different." As if in response to her words, the storm surged again, the winds howling louder, the rain pounding with renewed ferocity. The aircraft shook violently, and Eliza felt the familiar dread creeping in. "Hold on," Noah shouted, fighting the controls. But they were losing altitude fast. The ground below twisted into a roiling mess of water and debris, and Eliza's heart raced with fear. "Prepare for impact," Noah yelled, but Eliza's mind raced with possibilities. They couldn't give up. Not now, not after everything they had fought for. "Keep it steady, Noah," she commanded, forcing herself to focus. "We're going to make it." But the storm roared back, the winds intensifying, ripping through the aircraft like a wrathful deity. With a final surge, they were thrown sideways, the world outside a blur of chaos. "No," Eliza screamed, but her voice was lost in the storm. With a bone-jarring thud, the plane collided with the outer edge of the eye wall, and the world exploded into darkness. Eliza awoke in a haze of confusion, the cabin a twisted wreck around her. Alarms blared, and the air was thick with the smell of smoke and fuel. Heart racing, she pushed herself up, her body aching from the impact. Noah, Mia, she called, her voice hoarse. There was no response. Panic surged through her as she struggled to assess the situation. The cockpit was in shambles, instruments shattered, wires hanging like frayed threads. Mia, she shouted again, her voice echoing in the chaos. Finally, a groan came from the back of the cabin. Eliza turned to see Mia slowly pushing herself up, blood trickling down her forehead. Eliza, are you okay? Yeah, but we need to get out of here, Eliza urged, pushing through the debris. What about Noah? Mia asked, looking around frantically. Eliza's heart sank as she realized the cockpit was a disaster zone. We have to check. Together, they made their way to the front of the cabin, pushing aside broken equipment and shattered glass. The storm outside roared like a beast unleashed, but inside, the calm was deceptive, filled with the remnants of chaos. Please be okay, Eliza whispered as they reached the cockpit. Noah lay slumped over the controls, unconscious but alive. Relief washed over her as she checked his pulse. He's still breathing. Mia hurried to check on him, her hands shaking. We need to get him out of here. Eliza nodded, feeling the weight of urgency pressing down on them. The storm was still raging outside, and they needed to escape before the aircraft succumbed to the elements. Together, they managed to pull Noah from the wreckage, dragging him toward the emergency exit. The sound of wind howled outside, a chilling reminder of the storm's power. Help me, Eliza shouted, adrenaline fueling her strength as they pushed through the chaos. They reached the emergency exit and opened it, the wind whipping through the cabin like a vengeful spirit. Go, go, Eliza urged, pulling Noah through the opening as Mia scrambled after them. The moment they were outside, the full force of Hurricane Milton hit them. Rain lashed at their faces, and wind screamed around them, a feral force determined to drag them back into the storm's embrace. Stay low, Eliza shouted, battling against the winds as they stumbled away from the wreckage. The world around them was a nightmarish landscape, trees torn from their roots, debris scattered like confetti, and the roiling ocean crashing against the shore. The ground was slick with mud, making each step treacherous. Where do we go? Mia yelled, squinting against the rain. We need to find shelter, Eliza shouted back, scanning the horizon for any sign of safety. But the storm was relentless, a chaotic symphony of destruction that threatened to swallow them whole. They stumbled toward a nearby structure, an old, half-destroyed building that had once been a beachfront rental. Over there, Eliza pointed, leading the way as they fought against the wind. They reached the building, bursting through the door just as the storm raged behind them. Inside, the air was thick with dust and decay, remnants of a life left behind. Is he okay? Mia asked, kneeling beside Noah, who lay unconscious on the floor. Eliza felt for a pulse again, relief flooding her when she found it strong and steady. He'll be fine. We just need to wait it out. But as they huddled inside, the storm's wrath continued to rage outside, a cacophony of destruction that felt like a living nightmare. What if it comes in here? Mia asked, her voice trembling. It won't, Eliza assured her, though doubt flickered in her mind. We're safe for now. The winds howled outside, rattling the walls of their shelter. They could hear debris crashing against the building, the sound of nature's fury unleashed. Just breathe, Eliza said, trying to calm both herself and Mia. We'll get through this. As they sat in the darkness, the storm continued its relentless assault, and Eliza felt the weight of their situation pressing down on her. They were at the mercy of Hurricane Milton, a force that felt almost sentient. And as the hours passed, dread settled in the pit of her stomach. Time lost all meaning as they sat in the dark, the storm raging outside. Noah remained unconscious, and Mia paced nervously, glancing out the broken windows at the chaotic scene beyond. Eliza, what if the storm doesn't pass? She asked, her voice shaking. We'll make it, Eliza insisted, though she felt her own resolve wavering. We just need to wait it out. But as the hours dragged on, the winds began to shift, a menacing change in the atmosphere. Eliza could feel it in her bones, a tension that hung in the air, thick and heavy. Mia, she said, rising to her feet. Something's changing. I can feel it. What do you mean? Mia asked, fear etched across her face. The storm. It's not just a hurricane anymore. It feels alive, Eliza said, glancing toward the door. Mia stepped back, her eyes wide. What if it comes for us? We have to stay focused. We'll wait for the eye to pass, then we'll get Noah and get the hell out of here, Eliza urged, trying to project confidence. But deep down, she felt a sense of impending doom. The storm had been relentless, and now it felt like it was shifting gears, transforming into something far more sinister. Outside, the winds howled louder, the sound echoing like a banshee's wail. Eliza's heart raced as she glanced out the window again, scanning the chaos. "Mia, stay close," she called, moving toward the door. But just then, a deafening crack split the air, and the building shook violently. Eliza stumbled, gripping the wall to steady herself. "What was that?" Mia screamed, panic flooding her voice. "I don't know, stay low," Eliza shouted as they huddled together, heartbeats pounding in sync with the storm's fury. Another crash echoed outside, and Eliza felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. "We need to get Noah and move." With a surge of determination, she rushed back to Noah's side, shaking him gently. "Noah, wake up." He stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Eliza, what happened?" "Storm's still raging, but we need to move now," she urged, glancing anxiously at the door. Noah pushed himself up, shaking off the daze. "I'm okay, let's go." Together they hoisted him to his feet, and as they stumbled toward the exit, the building trembled again, as if the storm outside was shaking it to its core. "Go, go," Eliza urged, adrenaline surging through her veins as they rushed outside. The winds had shifted, swirling ominously, and Eliza felt the weight of the storm pressing down on them. They had to find safety, had to escape the clutches of Hurricane Milton. The storm outside was a swirling tempest of fury, rain lashing against them as they fought to keep their footing. Eliza felt the energy in the air crackle, a sense of foreboding that weighed heavy on her chest. "Where do we go?" Mia yelled over the roar of the wind, panic lacing her voice. "There," Eliza pointed to a nearby building, half buried under debris. It was a ramshackle structure, but it looked more stable than the one they had just escaped. With a shared determination, they pushed forward, battling against the winds that threatened to pull them apart. The chaos swirled around them, and Eliza felt a surge of fear as they neared the building. "Noah, can you walk?" she asked, glancing back at him. "I'm fine," he insisted, gritting his teeth as they made their way through the debris. But as they reached the entrance, a deafening roar erupted from above, and Eliza looked up just in time to see a massive tree branch coming down. "Watch out," she screamed, shoving Mia out of the way. Eliza felt the impact as the branch collided with her shoulder, pain shooting through her body as she tumbled to the ground. "Eliza," Mia screamed, rushing to her side. "I'm okay," Eliza gasped, forcing herself to get up. "We have to move." With Mia's help, Eliza staggered to her feet, pain radiating through her shoulder as they pushed inside the building. The interior was dark and musty, remnants of a life long abandoned. "We'll be safe here for a moment," Eliza said, trying to catch her breath. But as they settled in, the storm outside roared louder, the winds a haunting symphony of chaos. Eliza could feel the walls vibrating, and dread settled over her like a heavy blanket. "What if it comes in?" Mia whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "We'll be fine," Eliza assured her, though her own heart raced with uncertainty. As they huddled together, the storm's fury reached a crescendo, and Eliza felt a chilling realization seep into her mind. They were trapped, caught in the eye of a storm that felt all too aware of their presence. Minutes turned into hours and the storm raged on, relentless in its assault. The wind howled like a beast, shaking the building to its foundation. "Eliza, what do we do?" Mia asked, voice trembling with fear. Eliza could barely think. They were out of options and the weight of the storm felt suffocating. "We just have to hold on," she replied, though doubt gnawed at her insides. The sound of the storm outside shifted again, a low growl that sent chills down Eliza's spine. It was as if the hurricane was alive, a creature that had awakened to hunt. "Mia, stay close," she said, feeling the dread seep deeper into her bones. Suddenly, the building shook violently, and a deafening crash echoed through the air. The walls trembled, and Eliza felt a surge of panic. "We need to get out, now." "No, we can't go out there," Mia cried, fear flooding her voice. "There's no time. We have to find safety," Eliza urged, adrenaline surging as she grabbed Noah's arm. But just then, the wind howled with a primal fury, and the walls of the building creaked ominously. "It's coming," Eliza shouted, pushing Mia and Noah toward the exit. As they rushed outside, the storm unleashed its full wrath. Rain lashed at them, and debris flew through the air like deadly projectiles. "Stay low," Eliza yelled, grabbing Mia's hand as they stumbled into the open. The world around them was a whirlwind of chaos. Trees swayed violently, and the ground was a torrent of mud and water, but they had to keep moving. "We have to get to higher ground," Eliza shouted, scanning for any signs of safety. "Over there," Noah pointed to a small hill in the distance, partially shielded by a cluster of trees. "Go," Eliza urged, pushing forward as they fought against the winds. Every step felt like a battle, but they pressed on, the storm roaring around them. As they neared the hill, the winds shifted again, a menacing growl that echoed in Eliza's ears. And then she saw it, a dark shape moving through the chaos, a shadow twisting and writhing, almost sentient. "Mia, look out," Eliza screamed, pulling her back just in time as a massive tree branch crashed down where they had just been standing. "We have to keep going," Noah shouted, his voice barely audible over the din. But as they reached the hill, the ground beneath them began to tremble, and Eliza felt the familiar weight of dread settle over her. The storm was shifting and they were caught in its grasp. "We're not safe here," Mia cried, looking around frantically. "Just a little further," Eliza urged, feeling the urgency in her bones. But as they pushed forward, the winds howled louder, a cacophony of chaos that threatened to swallow them whole. "No," Eliza shouted, digging deep for the strength to keep moving. The world around them felt like it was unraveling, the storm a living entity that thrived on their fear. With each step, Eliza felt the weight of the hurricane's gaze, a presence that hungered for their downfall. As they reached the hill, the winds howled like a raging beast, and Eliza felt a surge of determination. They had fought too hard to give up now. "Noah, can you hold the door?" she yelled, gesturing to a small shed perched at the top of the hill. "I'll try," he shouted back, battling against the wind. With a final push, they stumbled inside the shed, slamming the door shut behind them. The sound of the storm outside was a cacophony, but inside, they found a momentary reprieve. "What now?" Mia asked, her voice trembling. "We need to gather our thoughts," Eliza said, trying to steady her breathing. "We can't let this storm win." But as they huddled together, the atmosphere shifted once more. The storm felt alive, a sentient force that was watching them, waiting for the right moment to strike. "What if it's not just a hurricane?" Mia whispered, glancing nervously at the door. Eliza felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" "It's like it knows we're here. It's aware," Mia said, her eyes wide with fear. "No, it's just a storm. We have to focus on surviving," Eliza insisted, trying to push down her own unease. But the winds outside began to change, a low rumble building to a deafening roar. The walls of the shed trembled, and Eliza felt a deep sense of dread settle in her stomach. "Noah," she shouted, panic surging as she turned to him. "We have to find a way out." But just then, the door shuddered violently, and a deafening crash shook the building. "Eliza, it's coming," Noah screamed, fear etched across his face. "We have to go, now," Eliza yelled, adrenaline surging as they raced for the exit. But before they could reach the door, the winds howled with a primal fury, and the walls of the shed buckled under the pressure. "No," Eliza screamed, feeling the panic rise. "We can't let it take us." With a surge of determination, she pushed against the door, but it wouldn't budge. The storm was raging, a living entity that demanded their surrender. "Help me," Mia cried, gripping the door handle. Together they struggled against the force of the hurricane, the winds howling like a vengeful spirit. But as they fought, Eliza felt a strange energy in the air, a pulsing force that thrummed beneath her skin. "What is happening?" she gasped, feeling the very essence of the storm around them. And then it hit her, a realization that shook her to her core. The storm wasn't just a natural disaster, it was a manifestation of their fears, their pain, their deepest struggles. "Eliza," Noah shouted, pulling her back as the door burst open, flinging them into the storm once more. They tumbled out into the chaos, rain lashing against them like 1,000 needles. The wind screamed, and Eliza felt the weight of the storm pressing down on her. "Keep moving," she shouted, forcing herself to push forward. But as they stumbled through the chaos, Eliza felt the storm closing in, a dark shape swirling around them, almost sentient. "Mia, run," she screamed, grabbing her hand. Together, they sprinted through the debris, dodging falling branches and debris that threatened to consume them. The storm roared louder, a deafening cacophony that echoed in their ears. "Eliza, we can't outrun it," Noah shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. "We have to find a way to break its hold," Eliza urged, heart racing as they fought against the winds. But as they moved, the storm seemed to shift, swirling around them like a predator closing in for the kill. "We need to confront it," Mia shouted, voice shaking. "What do you mean?" Eliza asked, glancing at her. "We have to face our fears. We can't let it consume us," Mia cried, determination flashing in her eyes. Eliza felt a surge of clarity. They had been fighting the storm for so long, but maybe they needed to confront it head on. "Together," Eliza shouted, gripping Mia and Noah's hands. "We face it together." As they stood together, the storm howled around them, a cacophony of chaos that felt like it was testing their resolve. "We can do this," Eliza shouted, her voice rising above the storm. "We will not be broken." In that moment, a blinding light surged through the chaos, illuminating the swirling mass around them. The storm writhed, almost sentient, and Eliza felt its power pushing against her. But she stood her ground, fueled by the determination of her friends. "We are stronger than you. We will not be consumed." And with that declaration, the storm shuddered, as if in response to their courage. The winds howled, and the chaos began to recede, the shadows lifting as the light expanded. With a final roar, the storm unraveled, the winds dissipating into the air. Eliza felt a wave of relief wash over her as the clouds began to part, revealing a calm sky above. As the storm receded, Eliza, Mia, and Noah stood together, breathless and shaken but alive. The world around them was a mess of destruction, but they had faced the storm and survived. "Did we really?" Mia gasped, glancing around in disbelief. "I think we did," Eliza replied, her heart still racing. But as they surveyed the wreckage, a weight settled in Eliza's chest. The storm may have passed, but the damage was done. "Where do we go from here?" Noah asked, looking around at the devastation. Eliza took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities. "We find help. We make it through this." With renewed determination, they began to navigate through the debris, searching for signs of life. As they moved, the weight of the storm lingered in the air, a reminder of what they had faced. But as they stumbled forward, Eliza felt a sense of hope blossom within her. They had fought together against the storm, faced their fears, and emerged stronger. "Together," she said, turning to her friends, "we'll rebuild. We'll find a way." And as they moved forward into the uncertain future, Eliza felt the strength of their bond guiding them. They were survivors, and together they could face whatever lay ahead. In the distance, the sun began to rise, casting a warm glow over the devastation. Eliza took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came next. They had faced the storm, and now they would rise anew.